You've already started to listen to a MultipleSources.net podcast, and for more episodes of It's Always Sunny in Phoenix podcast, as well as other content such as other NBA teams, pro wrestling, and even comic books, visit MultipleSources.net. And if you want to join the MS family, go to their website. MS is always looking for more writers and other podcasts, as well as video editors. If you want to join the family, just go to MultipleSources.net and check out the sidebar or something. They got something set up. Check it out.
Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to It's Always Sunny in Phoenix, the weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. Today, it's David's birthday. Happy birthday, David.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, me.
That's right. So, today, we're going to go into our Phoenix Suns alternate universes, and we're going to play out some of the what-if situations that we would like to rewrite in Suns history. And after that, we're going to have some fun with the Let Me Reintroduce Myself cards that all the Suns guys filled out before heading into training camp. So it's just some random things about all the guys. So we're going to have some fun with it. We'll talk about our favorite answers later. So, I'm your host, Charlie. I have David and Mitch with me today. What's up, guys?
Not a whole lot, just podcasting, having a good time. My plug will not be a comic book today, so look forward to that.
What?
Oh.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
I know.
I'm having a good weekend so far. Can't complain, but excited to be here.
Yeah, so podcasting on the birthday, is that a good birthday activity?
I mean, it's not a bad birthday activity, so...
Right, yeah. Not good, not bad. Well, it's good.
It's good.
We're going to go with good. Okay, before we get started here, get a hold of us on social media. Hit us up on Twitter, @SunnyandPHXPod. Check out our Facebook under the name Phoenix Suns, Multiple Sources. Our email is sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. And, of course, check out our webpage at multiplesources.net/Phoenix Suns. All right, so let's get into these bizarro world, alternate universe Phoenix Suns situations. And we've had some fun talking about these amongst ourselves lately, so we figured we'd share our favorite what-ifs with you guys. So let's lead into the first one. I think we need to talk about one guy in particular, the big ticket, Kevin Garnett. So the longtime Timberwolf and Celtic finally hung up the sneakers after 21 awesome seasons in the NBA. So anything you guys want to say about KG before we get going?
Yeah, you know, KG's actually a guy that I liked growing up, and I really liked how he played when I actually got around really into the NBA. So, as much as I didn't like the Celtic years, the Timberwolf years were a lot of fun to watch, and are still a lot of fun to go back and watch. So, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, you know, his game is just one that changed the NBA. There'll never be another guy like KG. So it's sad to see him, along with Tim Duncan and Kobe, retire. We lost 3 great players this season. So it's sad, but congratulations to Kevin Garnett on a great career.
Right, and I grew up watching KG. I've said this, seems like about every other episode, but growing up in the Midwest, I was stuck watching the Timberwolves, so I have a soft spot for them. And Kevin Garnett was the first basketball player I ever saw in person, technically. I went to a game, it was Timberwolves versus Bulls, and this was in the mid to late 90s, I think. I was just a kid, but I got to see Kevin Garnett versus Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, so just that was really cool. I love KG. I've loved him since he was in the league. Gotta love that personality. But anyways, let's get into our alternate universe stuff here. And David, I know you have one involving KG, so take it away.
Yeah, and if you've listened to the podcast before, this is one that I've kind of brought up sparingly when we talk about Shawn Marion, and that's the fact that Shawn Marion almost got traded as part of a Kevin Garnett deal, and Kevin Garnett wanted to be in Phoenix. Phoenix was a team that was really close, just needed that one extra player, really, that a lot of people thought. And KG thought he was that guy and wanted to go to Phoenix. the trade was kind of looked at as a 3-team trade originally with the Celtics, and the idea was that the Celtics would send the Timberwolves their, I think it was like a top 5 pick or something like that, whatever, their first rounder they would send to the Timberwolves. Sean Marion would go to the Celtics, and then an undisclosed player from the Suns and the Celtics would go to the Timberwolves. I think it was either some sort of, I don't think it was young talent that was talked about. I think it was like expiring contracts or something like that. Just something to be able to give some sort of cap relief. So the idea of this is that we don't end up with Shaq, we end up with KG. So we've got a core of Kevin Garnett, Amari Stoudemire, and Nash. That is kind of a good core, and as much as Sean Marion was a great defender, Kevin Garnett, some people will argue, is the greatest defender to ever play in the NBA. Even one of the best defensive players when he was old man KG these last 2 years. So, not entirely sure who the player was, but you could probably think that we still probably go after someone like Grant Hill during the next offseason or something like that to fill out the team. You can never really know with these kind of things, but if you're wondering, I think, hold on, sorry, let me rephrase that. So you say Amari starts at center still, you let KG play power forward. KG wasn't necessarily a guy that wanted to play center a whole lot, or maybe that's a thing where him and Amari just switch off. So you have those guys playing in the front court. It's really the perfect counter to Tim Duncan, who was always the Suns' real like nemesis and forever will be, and I'll forever hate him. But you think of that, and us having the counter to Tim Duncan to be able to play against him, and knowing that we already could beat Kobe and his ragtag misfits at the time, and even when they had Andrew Bynum, and if they trade for Pau Gasol still, then we're going up against Andrew Bynum, Pau Gasol, and Kobe with Nash, Amari, and Kevin Garnett, which I think is a really good core to go toe-to-toe. We'd probably have a couple of great series leading through 2010, 2011, something like that, of those two teams going at it. And I really think that we probably could have won a title if we got KG.
I really like all of that. I do have my reservations about just getting rid of Marion, though. Those, you could almost look at those two as kind of a wash. They're both going to be great for your team. But, yeah, 2 different styles of ball, 2 different players. Man, I might have to say I'd rather have KG on my team.
Well,
what do you think, Mitch?
We also get to kind of look back just real quick. And, I mean, we ended up trading him for Shaq. And it was just the offseason before we traded him for Shaq, too. Is big to talk about, too. So, sorry. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, I think we talked about this a couple episodes ago about how when Shaq got to Phoenix, he had slowed way down, and he put up some decent numbers, but a trade like that could have lasted longer. Like KG could have spent more time in Phoenix, just other than like the season and a half that Shaq did, and I know Shaq made a great impact in Phoenix, but he was slowing way down, and Kevin Garnett, I think, was still more in his prime, obviously because he was younger. So that would have been, I mean, it's very interesting to think about for sure. We would have had a shot at a championship for sure, though.
And it would have filled that power forward void that we've always seemed to have over the last quite a few years here. So KG would have been a nice fit there.
And also, should note, KG did win Defensive Player of the Year as a Celtic, so after he was traded. So you're still having, it's not like he was like anything. He was still in his prime. He was still taking names. So just kind of more stuff to add to the idea of what our team would look like with him on it.
Man, and I keep thinking about, now that you brought it up, Stoudemire and Garnett sharing the front court or the center and power forward spots. And yeah, that'd be a Tim Duncan killer right there. That could have been what we needed to get over the hump. That's really cool. That's a good one to think about. All right, Mitch, you're next. What's yours?
All right, so I want to talk about one that I actually don't think would have changed very much. And that's if we would have traded Markieff Morris before the season started last year instead of in the middle of the season. So just to recap for those of you who didn't follow, Markieff Morris was pretty cancerous to the team in the locker room and on the court. Had a lot of disagreements with the front office, coaching staff, other players, and such, especially when his brother got traded to Detroit in the offseason in order to open things up to sign LaMarcus Aldridge, potentially. So he was not happy about that, and a lot of people were saying, well, we should just trade Markieff right away because we can already see what's starting here. A lot of people could kind of tell that if we kept him, this is what was going to happen, and they were right. So what we eventually did was tried to get on the same page with him, kind of by showing, like, you're the veteran on this team, you're going to be getting a lot of big minutes, making a huge impact. Kind of, I don't know, the media portrayed it as if we were on the same page at the beginning of the year. Not quite sure if that was truly the case or not, but eventually what happened is Markieff didn't give a great effort and was really tough to work with in general. So then what we did was we traded him in the middle of the season to the Wizards for Chris Humphries, Suns all-time great Chris Humphries. And more importantly, the pick that was the mid-lottery pick or the late lottery pick that eventually turned into Marquise Chris through a trade to the Kings. So what I think would have happened with Markieff if we traded him at the beginning of the season is I think that other teams probably would have seen that things were going bad, and he kind of had a bit of a bad reaction to his brother being traded, so his trade value wasn't very high, and that's probably why we didn't trade him. So what probably would have happened is we wouldn't have been able to get as much in return, and we probably still would have got just a guy who didn't have a very good contract who we eventually cut, and then I think maybe a late first round or second round pick from a team. So truly, as painful as last year was and the time with Markieff, as hard as that was, holding on to him probably was a benefit because he did have a couple decent games, and that raised his trade value a little bit, and we ended up getting that pick from the Wizards, which was big. It would have saved us a lot of trouble in the front office and in the locker room. Maybe we would have won a couple more games, but again, that would have changed our lottery odds, and we might not have had the 4th pick. Maybe we have the 5th pick or the 6th pick. So that changes who we would get in the draft. So mostly that trade affected this past draft. And in the end, I think holding off on trading him was the smart move.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only positive thing I could see, just not even talking about what we would get in return, but our power forward situation was rough last year. So being able to see Lure and Teletovic know that they were the two dudes going into the season, maybe that would have helped things out a little bit more. But, you know, in the long run, I'm happy with how last season ended up going and with our draft picks. So.
For sure.
But that's going to be the case with everything we say here. Who knows where things would be now had these things went down.
Yep.
One thing I have to say about this whole Markieff trade, if we would have traded him before the season, and I want to kind of pose this question to you guys, do we keep Hornacek as a coach if Markieff is traded before the season?
Yeah, I was actually just about to get to that. I think the coaching change still would have occurred because we would have continued to lose. I don't actually think the Markieff stuff contributed that much to Hornacek's firing. There were other problems that we had with his style, and maybe it's just because I'm so happy with everything Earl Watson has done so far, but I just don't think that was the driving force behind that firing.
Yeah, I have really mixed feelings about Hornacek still. It's his first season here. He did a heck of a job, and we were all riding pretty high after that season. We all know that. We were pretty excited about it. But I don't even really want to say anything until I watch him coach this Knicks team a little bit and see how they do, because if they're not looking very solid this year, I think we can close the book on Hornacek and his coaching status, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't know if you could necessarily blame him if the Knicks don't do well when he has, I almost said Derek Fisher, Derek Rose made of glass, and isn't nearly the guy he was, and broken down Jakeem Noah playing center. And he has Courtney Lee and Carmelo and Porzingis, yeah, and those are some pretty good guys, but if they fail, I feel like it's going to be from that point guard and center position. And I don't know if you can necessarily blame Hornacek for that. I know I personally was against the Hornacek firing. I felt like we probably should have held on to him. And I feel like if we would have traded Markieff before the season, it might have set a different precedent going into the season. At that point, I feel like if the precedent isn't as much like, oh, we're going to get into the playoffs, and it's, hey, we do kind of have a hole right here. It's going to be tough. It's an uphill battle. Your job isn't on the line. I think then at that point. But, of course, we know that his job was on the line and all that, so.
Sure. Well, either way, it will be interesting to see how Hornacek does coach for the Knicks this year.
Definitely.
All right. And let's move on a little bit, but keep it close with one guy in particular. And mine is a throwback to the 2011 NBA draft. And if you're up to par on your recent Suns history, you might already know what I'm talking about here. So the Suns were slotted in for the 13th pick and ended up selecting our good friend Markieff Morris. And his bro, and our best bro, Marcus Morris, went to the Houston Rockets with the next pick, and that's still not who I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about the guy who went next after the Morris brothers, Kawhi Leonard, to the San Antonio Spurs. So that's just 2 picks off from Markieff went 13, Leonard went 15. So that was definitely within reach to grab him. And before I get any further into this, here's a list of guys that were drafted after Markieff Morris that I'd rather have on the Suns right now. Nikola Vucevic, Shumpert, Tobias Harris, Donatas Motiejunas, Kenneth Faried, Nikola Mirotic, Jimmy Butler, Chandler Parsons, Reggie Jackson, and Isaiah Thomas. So
wow,
that's a hefty list going all the way to the last pick of the second round there.
That is painful.
Yeah. But revisionist history, that's how it's going to go. But anyways, so we're at the 2011-2012 NBA season. That was Nash's last one here in Phoenix. So just imagine if we were able to usher in the new era of Suns basketball with Kawhi Leonard rather than the draft pick of Markieff Morris. And the first point, the easy point to make, is just think about all the headaches and locker room issues and coaching issues with Hornacek like we've been talking about. Just think of all of those that we would have avoided over these last, 4 or 5 years? Yeah, but Leonard's approach to the game, I love it. He's quiet. He works hard. He's the guy you want in your locker room and on the court for you. So just that defense first mentality might have been something that the Suns could have really used, especially even at the year he got drafted. I think he would have been an excellent fit on that roster with Nash, Grant Hill, Jared Dudley, Channing Frye, and then Gortat was on the team that year. So something I like to think about is Grant Hill and Leonard locking down any shooting guard or small forward that the other team puts on the court. Those guys, both great defenders, and us Suns fans know that the Suns aren't known for their defense. So that would have been a nice change right away there. And we all know the Suns like to get up and down the floor too. And maybe Leonard could even slide in, play a little power forward. Like I said earlier, we've had this trouble with the power forward position for a decade now or so. So I think he would have been a guy that could even slide in there right now. So what do you guys think? How would the Suns be looking right now with Leonard over Morris?
So, I think you kind of said it yourself when I think about this draft, is our hole at power forward that we've seemed to have had for so long. I mean, I have questions about whether we can have Grant Hill, or we would have had Grant Hill play minutes considerably at the power forward at that time. And Kawhi Leonard was pretty good his rookie season and has just continued to get better, but he wasn't Defensive Player of the Year Kawhi Leonard in 2011. And he did take a little bit of time. But like Markieff didn't really perform a whole ton either. I think, if I remember correctly, the media was all saying that we had picked the wrong twin or the wrong brother again after picking Robin Lopez and then Brook Lopez.
I thought Robin was going to be great.
And that's just one of those things that was one of those, oh, well, the Suns picked the wrong brother again. Turned out that Markieff was actually better than Marcus once they had that weird twin voodoo stuff when they were playing together. But whatever. But, I don't think Kawhi would have performed a whole ton and still needed a lot of development coming out. So I'm not sure if that season would have ended up better. That being said, as he continued to develop, we did have that like our front office change. We did have that front office change. Maybe if we still end up with Hornacek coming in, you look at Bledsoe and Warren, whose jump shots have shot so up. If that is because of Hornacek, you could say that Kawhi Leonard's jump shot is able to continue on and progress as it has in the Spurs system. So, looking at now, then you have this corner piece of Kawhi Leonard, but you also have to look at what corner pieces do we lose, I think, is the only thing. And, those are so many what-ifs down the rabbit hole that who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So what I was going to talk about that you touched on already was the jump shot, because when Kawhi Leonard was drafted, people were nervous about his jump shot, and like you said, that's improved quite a bit in the Spurs system, and it would have been interesting to see him develop along with our guys who also developed jump shots, like TJ Warren and Bledsoe and guys like that. And I know that's a little bit further down the line, but it still would have been interesting to see all of those guys develop together, and I think they really could have had something special.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about just kind of that draft in general, I kind of did say something about us really looking for that power forward. I think that we would have gone power forward no matter what if we wouldn't have picked Markieff. So then the only question is who do you go with? Do you look at someone maybe like Chandler Parsons as more of a power forward than a natural small forward and try and go for him? Do you look at Vucevic as a guy that'll never be able to really body up on centers and can step out far enough and be able to play the four? I think that's where you kind of look at. We had Gortat and Lopez on that roster, and you kind of look at the need, and the need was power forward and has continued to be. So I think you kind of have to look there as maybe not necessarily Kawhi Leonard, but another guy that can play the four in that spot.
Right, and guys that I listed just a minute ago that might fall into that. Tobias Harris, he's a 3-4 kind of guy. He could have maybe fit that role.
Yeah, Tobias Harris I think is a really good one, because as much as he's played the 3, I think he's going to start playing the 4 a little bit more, or he's going to play the 4 in as the Pistons, and he's kind of one of those guys that's a little bit of a tweener, but his game's really good, and I think he would have fit that spot really well.
Right, and then the 2 after him, well, 3 after him, Modi Yunus, Fareed, and Mirotic. Those would all be, I'd be happy with all those guys manning the power forward spot for us.
Exactly. Agreed.
All right. So, David, I believe you're back on the clock.
Yes, I am, and I kind of have another one that relates to Markieff Morris, because I just can't get enough of him. And that is, in the summer of 2012, the Thunder GM Sam Presti decided to break a piece off of their young core and trade James Harden to the Houston Rockets. But what is something that sometimes is looked over is that the Suns did make a push towards the end of the Harden sweepstakes to try and get him. Now, when you look up what was going on, what the Thunder wanted was a promising player, some sort of role player, and 2 first-rounders. And they never really said what the Suns were, or what the Thunder were looking at from the Suns, but the idea is that it was some combination of Marcin Gortat, Jared Dudley, and Markieff Morris, along with one of our first-rounders and probably the Lakers' first-rounder that we got in the Steve Nash trade.
Which we ended up trading anyways. And all 3 of the guys mentioned, we ended up trading anyways as soon as the new front office came in. Right. So we do have to remember this was the old regime right before we got McD in, who were really high on keeping Gortat and Dudley, who had just signed Eric Gordon to a max offer sheet that the Pelicans matched, who had just brought in Michael Beasley, who had just brought in Luis Scola, who had just brought in Goran Dragic. So we got to remember this going in. Felt like they were going to be giving too much up for Harden, and 2 first-rounders, and then 2 of those 3 players. So you say that he trades Markieff Morris and Jared Dudley. Or even if he trades Gortat and Dudley, or Gortat and Markieff Morris. All that leaves us at that time, it does make us considerably better in the future looking back on it, once we get the regime change. Because once we get that regime change, we bring in Eric Bledsoe, which we would still have the pieces. If we didn't trade Dudley, if we do Gortat and Morris, we still have the pieces to trade and get get Bledsoe. So we don't have Gerald Green, and because we traded. Oh wait, no, Gortat we traded just for like Ekme Okafor or something. We traded Scola for Gerald Green and all that, or something. Yeah. So we still have the pieces to trade for Eric Bledsoe. So you're saying that we're sitting there with Eric Bledsoe and James Harden as our backcourt of the future. Now, Eric Bledsoe has been hurt off every other year, but maybe you say that he doesn't have to put in so much work with, instead of Goran Dragic playing next to him, if you have James Harden. Or even if you don't trade for Bledsoe because you traded Dudley, and say you traded Morris and Dudley, then you're looking at a roster with Gortat, Dragic, and Harden, and maybe you still trade Gortat and go hard at someone like Dwight Howard. So these are just some things that could have gone on. Or you could have pushed hard for a 4 if you wanted to keep Gortat and traded Morris and Dudley and all that. Just some different things that have gone on. These talks never got serious, but they were talked about extensively, as the article quotes, and really could have changed the franchise a lot quicker than what's going on. But as we had also said about so many what-ifs, if they do the Harden trade, maybe the old regime stays on because Harden blows up out of nowhere like he did on Houston and makes it look good
and drags that pitiful team to the playoffs.
That's interesting. When you talk about Bledsoe and Harden sharing the backcourt, I think about Harden and Beverly. And Beverly, don't get me wrong, he can play some defense, but Harden and Bledsoe next to each other, that would be disgusting. That's an all-star backcourt right there.
Yeah, that would be great. For sure.
Bring the beard back to the Valley. That would have been interesting. I bet I'd like James Harden a lot more right now than I would like him more had he signed here than I like him right now. Not a big fan right now.
It'd sell a lot of tickets, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. And fake beards.
And
Lots of fake beards.
Yeah.
You could only wear them a little bit, though, because then they get sweaty because it's hot in Phoenix and all that. So.
Yep. There we go.
Would you say it's sunny?
But,
Poll question, would James Harden still have a beard if he were still in Phoenix?
I mean, he was starting to grow the beard while he was in Phoenix, so I think so.
You
Yeah.
think he'd still have it?
Yeah.
I say yes.
That was already part of his brand, I mean.
Exactly, his identity.
Sure. That's fair. But man, that would suck.
Yeah, it would.
All right, let's move on to another superstar coming to Phoenix. Mitch, you have one. What do you think?
Yeah, so it just seems like whenever there's a big superstar who is a free agent, it seems like Phoenix is just thrown out automatically. Like the name Phoenix. Like, we're always in the mix for someone like this. And when LeBron left Miami, it seemed like we were in the mix to sign him. When really we weren't, but there were rumors, maybe one or two. So I want to explore what would have happened if LeBron decided not to make the very rational decision to go to his hometown team, to the team he played for before, to the team he really wanted to play for, and decided to come to Phoenix. And what I think would have happened was it probably would have been terrible for him, and he would have regretted his decision right away.
Wow.
In Cleveland, he pretty much got free reign to say, here's the guys I want to sign. He built that team around his wants, and they won a championship. It worked really well. We know from the way the Suns front office has been functioning that it probably wouldn't have been that easy for LeBron to say, here's someone I want. I don't think they would have been as flexible with what he wanted to do. It is LeBron, so they probably would have given him quite a bit of power, but I think
LeBron makes you flexible. I think he'd make the team flexible.
I'm just saying he would have less power than he does in Cleveland. And I still think that ultimately the Suns could win a championship with LeBron, but I think it would have taken a year or two longer. And, I mean, we don't have Kyrie as the point guard to work with him. We have Eric Bledsoe, who is known as mini LeBron, and they play a very similar style. Kyrie really complements LeBron. And Cleveland had Kevin Love, who, you know, it's debatable how much he actually added to that championship team, but he's a very different player. Who did we have? Markieff Morris. And, that probably wouldn't have worked quite as well. I still think eventually it would have been LeBron's team. It just would have taken a little bit longer. But yeah, it would have been a crazy time for Phoenix basketball. But in the end, it would have been very similar to what would have happened, or what did happen in Cleveland.
Mini LeBron and regular-sized LeBron would be a heck of a duo to watch out on the court. That would be fun.
It would be fun, but it would be a lot different, I think.
You know, Mitch, I think you really just wanted to make a way so we could put LeBron in the tags of this podcast.
Ooh, I actually didn't think about that, but that's not a bad idea.
We're doing it.
Done.
Is that all you have to say about that, David?
Yeah.
I mean, like, okay, so in this fairy tale imaginary world where LeBron signs in Phoenix, and I blow my brains out because LeBron signs in Phoenix, because I hate LeBron. I mean, at that point, Cleveland traded for Kevin Love in August after he signed. is Kyrie Irving really that complimentary to LeBron? Because he's not, because he needs the ball to be effective. I mean, you could make the argument that Bledsoe could complement LeBron better because Bledsoe can play off ball.
Okay.
You can make the argument that the Suns probably had the pieces to be able to make a trade for Kevin Love if that's the guy LeBron wanted. Or, or maybe he decides that Keith is okay and then Keith does something stupid and then he gets traded. Who knows? But
Didn't we already have Channing Frye in it this time? He likes Channing Frye.
Yeah.
That's enough reason to come on over, right?
Was Channing Frye a free agent at that point?
See, I'm
I don't know.
a little foggy on that year.
Whatever.
I'm not sure.
So we get Channing Frye, he resigns, and then we have a starting lineup of Eric Bledsoe, a wheelchair. No, not Eric Bledsoe
stilts.
in a
wheelchair on stilts.
A
Wheelchair on stilts.
What
on
is it?
an
A
ice
wheelchair?
skating rink.
A pumpkin on a skateboard? Something like
not
that.
have brought this up.
LeBron, Channing Frye.
Let's
and
just
then-
edit all of this out.
No.
No, this is great. So we have a pumpkin, a potato, a mini potato. This is great. I actually like this team more now.
Playoff bound.
Playoff
Right there. Okay, let's
Oh my gosh.
let's move on from
That
this.
was a horrible idea.
And I have one last one here. And if you guys want to throw in some more ridiculousness, we can do that. But
I'm good.
so I'm gonna go. Okay,
I got
I'm going
one.
with what if? Yeah, I bet you do. Birthday boy. Okay, so what if Joe Johnson stayed in Phoenix rather than us trading him to the Hawks for Boris Diaw and a couple first-round picks? So I know Joe Johnson didn't terribly want to be here by the time we traded him. So let's just forget about that and just talk about what if he were here. So that last year that he was here, the team ended up 62-20 and made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, but lost the series to the Spurs. So that was tough. That was a tough loss, and just personally, if that were me, I'd want to come back next year and get back to that Western Conference Finals and then win it.
Or if you're
But
Kevin
anyways,
Durant, you want to join the Spurs.
Yeah. Well, at least Joe Johnson didn't go to the Spurs. Okay, but anyways, so next year, minus Joe Johnson and plus Boris Diaw, the Suns made it back to the Western Finals, but came up short again against the Mavericks. So we trade away a 20-point-per-game scorer in Joe Johnson, who scored over 20 for the next 5 seasons after he left Phoenix. So what happens if we keep him around while Nash is still rocking it in his prime, and we have that 1-2 of Nash and Joe Johnson? Do you guys think we would have been better off that next year and then even a few years into the future, or do you think we were right to trade Joe?
It's hard to say because, like you mentioned, we still went to the Western Conference Finals and lost. It's not like it changed a whole lot the next year. I don't know. That's a really tough one.
Well, so you trade out. So we had Raja Bell starting for that playoff.
Yeah.
Those playoffs. So you put Raja on the bench, or maybe you say that since you re-signed Joe Johnson, that's not a thing anymore. I honestly feel like at that point you have more explosiveness, and then at that point have the explosiveness to be able to push out the Mavs.
That's what I think too. I think that may have been a year that the Suns could have made it into the finals. And then for the years after that, I think, Joe Johnson's a really great, one of the best one-on-one scorers in the game right now. And that wasn't the Suns' style of basketball. We were moving the ball around, getting up and down the court. But in the case that the 7 seconds or less isn't working out for us, give the ball to Joe Johnson on the elbow, high post, and let him go to work and get a bucket. I think he would have just been a great plan B. If the team basketball isn't going, let's kick it to Joe and see what he can do.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to kind of think of, is that it always seemed like when the 7 seconds or less broke down and became the 8 seconds and more, that we just completely fell apart and just really didn't have anything to do except for have Nash try and work magic. And maybe if we have ISO Joe, then we kind of have a go-to as something like, oh, hey, you know, stop sitting around in the corner or wherever and go into the post. And we have kind of a guy that can score in the post, which we didn't have and really kind of still don't have.
Okay, anything else we want to throw out before we move on here?
Yeah, I have one more. And this one is really short, but what if we would have traded KJ instead of Jeff Hornacek in the Barkley deal?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because everyone was assuming when we traded for Barkley that we were going to have to give up KJ. And we didn't and gave up Hornacek instead. So I don't really have a whole lot to go on here, but just something to think about. How would that team have been different? Do you put Hornacek in at point guard then at that point and still play Marley as a starter and just have guys just spot up kind of around Barkley? And does that change anything? Or do you have someone to play like a traditional point guard and have Hornacek still starting and Marley come off the bench? You know, just something to kind of think about. I don't have a whole lot to go on that, but that's something that I thought about a couple days ago that I wanted to add in.
That's a good one. My initial reaction is we'd probably be better off with the way it actually went down. I think KJ was a better point man, run the show kind of guy. Even though Hornacek did do an excellent job of taking care of the ball and getting others involved, I think KJ's game was just a little better.
Yeah, and that's what I think. I think that, I'm not going to argue that Hornacek was a better player than KJ. That's not the thing, but it's really just thinking then at that point, do you just exclusively let Barkley run pseudo point at power forward and just spot him up with guys around him that can make shots and just let him create? And then at that point, what do we look like? So just something kind of just to throw out there, not really to talk about a whole bunch, but just kind of that might be something.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, more Barkley would have been just fine with me. Okay, let's move on to these cards that all the Suns players filled out. They were titled, Allow Me to Reintroduce Myself. And all the guys filled this out before heading into training camp. I think they were taking some pictures with the uniforms on. Not exactly sure what was going on, but all these were shared on social media. Guys seem to have a pretty good time doing it. So we're going to go through and highlight our favorite answers, and then I'm thinking that we all throw in our own answers to reintroduce ourselves to our listener base. What do you guys think about that?
I'm excited.
Yeah. I
right.
am very excited.
Cool. So the first question on this was, what is a hashtag to describe your game? So let's start off with what our favorite answers from the players were. Mitch, do you have a favorite?
Well, I have a couple. Alan Williams as hashtag sauce is great. I also really like Alex Len as Mr. Smooth. I don't think I would ever think to call him that, but I love it.
No, I wouldn't either. Let's hope we see some Mr. Smooth this year out of Alex Len.
Just no J Smooth, please.
A Smooth.
Oh, Lord.
David, what do you got?
I gotta go with Big Sauce on this one. Hashtag sauce. Alan Williams, yep. I love you.
Hashtag sauce is my favorite too. But then you gotta go with hashtag buckets out of Devin Booker and TJ Warren. Those guys get buckets.
Yeah, I can't argue with those
Tony
guys.
Buckets. TJ Warren, Tony Buckets. So that makes sense. Go through a few of these quick though. Dragan Bender, I believe this is in a different language. Mirovina? I have no idea what that means. Bledsoe, fearless. Tyson Chandler, nice. Marquise Chris, hashtag bounce team. That's a solid one. Dudley, smart and disciplined. And Brandon Knight, hashtag speed. It's a good one.
What? No
And then
hashtag LaFleur?
We can throw that in there. But then Tyler Eulis, the smallest dude in the NBA, I think. Hashtag killer. Gotta like that. All right, so, Mitch, what's a hashtag to describe your game?
Okay, mine is hashtag a lot of screens and occasional layups.
Nice. We all know what Mitch brings to the court. Right there, that says it all. What about you, David?
Hashtag 2K Blacktop.
There you go. That's where David balls out. We know that. Then mine's just hashtag Rec League. Playing at the Y. If you think of a guy late 20s playing basketball at the Rec League, little out of shape, sweating way too much, that's me.
Gym shorts a little too short.
Yeah, just a
Cotton,
little too short.
100% cotton. Gray.
I haven't seen a pair of cotton shorts in a while on a dude. That's good stuff. All right, let's move on to the next one. Do you have a hidden talent? Any stick out to you guys?
Well, Alex Len's hidden talent is nunchucks.
That is so awesome. That's so awesome. We need a display of that.
Yeah.
That one's great. I'm a little questionable on Devin Booker's as ping pong, since there are videos of him playing ping pong, and whenever anyone asks him what he does outside of basketball, he talks about ping pong. So I don't know if that's a hidden talent.
Yeah, that might not be hidden.
I'm gonna give it to him either way.
Yeah, now that you say that, I just saw a video of him playing ping pong.
Yeah, he was playing ping pong with
Within
Brandon Knight.
24 hours. Yeah, I saw that. That was within 24 hours. It's not hidden anymore, book. All right. I like I think that Jared Dudley being a planner sounds interesting to me. Like,
if he came
Jared
out as
Dudley
a wedding
has-
planner, I would not be surprised.
Oh,
That would be amazing.
I like Natalie, my wife. I would say we're getting remarried. We're renewing our vows, and Jared Dudley is putting this thing on.
It's gonna be lit.
Oh, Lord, Mitch.
Mitch, whenever you use any sort of slang, it just catches me off guard. But I love it. I love it. Okay, let's just skip through these. We should probably hurry up a little bit here. Mitch, what's your hidden talent?
So a lot of the guys said cooking. I'm gonna say cooking from a recipe. I can follow those directions like no other.
It's like a science.
Yeah.
How about you, David?
I have no hidden talent.
We all know of all of David's talents.
Pretty much.
Well, I have an excellent one, and I can perform it over the microphone here, which is just
Yes.
spectacular. I can make farting noises with my hands.
Oh, that's right.
You guys ready for this?
Yes.
I can get like two different pitches here. Oh, it's weak today. It's weak.
That's impressive.
And it was hidden. I figured it was a good one to share. Oh, I feel good now. That was good. All right. What are you looking forward to this season of Suns basketball? And everyone says winning, and that's what I'd really like to see too. So how about we just all go with our own? David, I want to hear what David's looking forward to.
What am I looking forward to the most for my season or the Sun season?
Either or.
For the Sun season, I'm looking forward to not being as terrible. For my season, I'm looking forward to not having to drink as much because we were so terrible.
Perfect.
Okay.
What do you got, Mitch?
I'm looking forward to the development of our young team.
Yep, that's what I have too, plus a healthy Eric Bledsoe.
Oh, yes.
All right, so move on to the next one here. And What would you pursue a career in if you weren't an NBA player? But we'll change ours to if you weren't an NBA podcaster. I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd be in the NBA.
Of course.
Okay, Devin Booker.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be a circus clown.
Circus clown. All
Yep.
right. Wow. First, I want to note that Alex Len said mixed martial arts, so there's that again. I don't know. This one's really hard for me because I work for a basketball team. I don't really know anything else. I like history. Maybe I'd like work at a museum or something.
There you go. And hey, a good one here. Big Sauce says sports broadcasting. So, open invitation to Big Sauce to come on the show and
Yes.
show us how
Please.
it's done. We need to get a hold of Big Sauce. Get him on here right away.
Hashtag sauce.
Yes. All right. What is your pregame music selection? And it seems like I see a lot of Drake amongst the Suns.
I know, it's disappointing.
Drake.
I'm just kidding.
So how about you guys?
Well, when I was playing, well, you guys know my musical tastes already, but when I was playing, like, back in high school, I listened to a lot of Iron Maiden. That was my
Ooh.
pump-up music.
Getting amped.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, David?
So if I'm thinking my pregame for the Suns, like just watching, I'm thinking just something to get a little pumped up, something to get the adrenaline running a little bit. You can never have too much. So you
Little
just
Sarah McLachlan, maybe?
so no. You just get a little JT in there, Justin Timberlake, the homie.
Oh.
Get a little bit.
Okay.
Get a little bit of maybe a little bit of NSYNC thrown in there with some dirty pop. You never know. Just something to get the mood right, get pumped up a little bit. Some bye. And
That's fair.
I mean, like, it's funny because that's also my pregame 2K. Is just get a little dirty pop going on and some Space Cowboy and
Dirty Pop.
Okay.
David, you're the king of Dirty Pop.
that's what I wanted to change my 2K nickname on in like my career, but you're just stuck with Prez, so it's really disappointing.
Yeah. Probably some character limit in there too.
No, I could fit Dirty Pop, Dirty Pop King. Just do it like a license plate. Take out
Okay.
all the vowels.
There you go.
There you go. I like it. Okay, but yeah, I guess you went with your Dirty Pop, so it's my turn. I used to rock Rage Against the Machine before pretty much every athletic event I participated in.
Good call.
Just all around get amped up music. Okay, and then the last one here is who is on your NBA Mount Rushmore? So your 4 top NBA players of all time. Who wants to open with this one? Nobody does. How about I'll go here and I'll talk about what some of the guys put down from the Suns. Eric Bledsoe went with Allen Iverson, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and then threw the honorable mention out to Archie Goodwin. They're boys. That's cool. Who had the weirdest one though?
Brandon Knight.
Brandon Knight rocking Gilbert Arenas, Michael Jordan, Grant Hill, and D Wade. I'll take 1 out of 4 of those on my Mount Rushmore.
Gilbert Arenas all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Undoubtedly. But there's a few Allen Iversons on here. That's cool.
I get it, big cultural guy for those early 2000s ballin' guys. I mean,
Yeah.
I understand it. I don't like it, but I understand it.
Hey, he's in the Hall of Fame now, so it's suitable to put him on there.
Yeah,
so
are a
let's
lot
hear
of
your
other
top
guys.
4, David. Let's hear your Mount Rushmore.
All right, so I have 2 Mount Rushmores. One for Suns players, one for normal NBA. So I'm going to go ahead and go with my Suns players. I actually changed this up a little bit. Just slightly. Just the slightest bit. Because I love me some point guards. So I have an all point guard lineup. No, I'm just kidding. So I got Barkley, cause duh. I got Nash, cause duh. What used to be Walter Davis, I have Paul Westphal, because he's the homie, and then I have Dick Van Arsdale, because you can't have a Suns Mount Rushmore without the original Sun. And then my NBA one is a little boring. I've got MJ, Kareem, Magic, and then Devin Booker. So just a little boring.
Yep, no big deal there. You're just like Marquise Chris. Chris threw Booker on his Mount Rushmore, which
And that's why Marquise Chris is actually on my honorable mentions. So it's weird.
Yep, he made my honorable mention too, just for that. Thanks for stealing that though, David. All right, Mitch, take it away.
Okay, I'm kind of gonna change mine up on the spot because the more I think about it, the more I'm going on the fly. Suns. This is basically my favorite Suns players. Nash, Barkley, Larry Nance, and Amari Stoudemire. Maybe a little different than most people's, but those are my favorites.
Cool. It's your Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
It's yours.
NBA, I am going Michael Jordan, Shaq, LeBron, and Bill Russell.
Boo!
Good stuff. You got some big boys. That's a big lineup.
Yes, it is.
All right, so for my son's Mount Rushmore, we all have different Mount Rushmores. That's a little surprising, but we're all different guys. That's fair. All right, but I'm going with Steve Nash, Charles Barkley, Walter Davis, and Sean Marion. Big fan of Marion. And then for my NBA Mount Rushmore, gonna have to go with MJ, of course, and then Kobe, Magic, and LeBron. And I hate to put even 2 Lakers in my Mount Rushmore. It's a little sad to do.
Yeah, I know. I would have thought you would have put Kareem over Kobe, but
It definitely has to do something with watching the guy my whole life as a sports fan, pretty much, and they rub off on you. I don't like Kobe, but I respect Kobe.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think it's time to end the show the way we always do. It's time for David's not comic book corner and Mitch's face melting minute, and then I'm going to plug something. So, David, start us off, man.
Yeah, so I decided not to do a comic book because I went to a concert last night, and it was pretty great. Down in Phoenix, Blink-182 is having their tour for their new album, California, and they had All Time Low and A Day to Remember playing or opening for them. All Time Low I'm fine with, not that big of a deal. A Day to Remember I'm a huge fan of, and I'm a huge fan of Blink-182. I am just about all the music that Blink-182 puts out, I absolutely love and will defend till the day I die. Even all of the stuff that isn't that good, whatever. But I genuinely think that California is a really good album. I really love it. And not just about, but everything A Day to Remember puts out, I'm also a huge fan of. I love both of them. So it was just great to be able to go down there. It was kind of a birthday treat to myself. I spent an exorbitant amount of money on tickets. Not an exorbitant, but way too much money on tickets. Got some really great seats. Had a blast hanging out with my younger brother. Rocking out. If you have the chance, go see A Day to Remember live, because they're just fantastic. I want to go see them where they headline a show, because them just opening was not nearly long enough, and I just want to go see them again. And while Blink-182 may not be in their prime, I still absolutely love them, and they put on a heck of a show. And it feels just like a rock show should be. And the pyrotechnics, fireworks, all the good stuff, tons of fun. So that's what I did. Had a blast, and that's my plug.
Good stuff. I've been a Blink-182 fan for a long time, pretty much since Enema of the State came out. I think I was in 8th grade, and I bought that CD, and it was great. So it's cool that you got to go see them. And I've heard a few songs off the new album, and a few of them really remind me of that Enema of the State album. So, good stuff. All right, and then I'll go here quick. And if you live here in the East Valley of of the Valley of the Sun down here in Phoenix, I'm gonna promote my favorite Mexican restaurant as of late. It's called Isabel's Amor, and I've just been abusing this place lately. I go way too much, and so I get this. It's a torta. I assume that's just like Spanish for sandwich, because that's what it is. It's a sandwich, but it's just delicious. I go the carne asada route, some onions on top, some guac on top, and then they serve them with fries. Like, I feel kind of like one of those losers that's like, can I get chicken strips? Like when you're in a Mexican restaurant, because like I'm eating fries, but it's so good. I can't order anything else. I can't make myself order anything else. And like, I'm a burrito guy, but I still keep going back to the carne asada torta. So, Isabel's Amor. And live music on Fridays. There's a dude playing guitar in there. Last time I was in, did a great job. So great atmosphere, cool place. Check that out. And Mitch,
Nice.
go ahead, bud.
Yeah, so I'm also going to plug a show that is not quite on the as grand a scale as David's show, which I'm sure was awesome. But last Thursday, I saw Taking Back Sunday. This was the second time I had seen them. Another one of those pop punk bands that were really popular in the mid-2000s. And they did something that I had never witnessed before. They came out with a new album about a week ago, and so they decided to play it through in its entirety because it was the singer's birthday, and that's what he wanted to do. I hadn't heard a single song from that, and it was really cool to see them play that whole thing and see how passionate they were about their new stuff. And then after that, it was basically split into two sets. After that, they played all of their hits that everyone expected to hear, and it was great to hear those too. So yeah, really, really interesting set, and if you get the chance to see Taking Back Sunday, I highly recommend it.
That's awesome. I think when you're putting out a new album and you're promoting it, like, obviously you need to play those shows at a concert. But then again, there's that big chunk of people that are there to hear the old stuff. But if you can pull off both, that's awesome stuff.
Yeah, it was cool.
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this week. Be sure to check us out on social media. Follow us on Twitter under the handle @SunnyandPHXPod. Find us on Facebook under the name Phoenix Suns Multiple Sources. Hit us up through email with questions or suggestions at sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. Head over to the website at multiplesources.net/Phoenix Suns and the entire Multiple Sources blog and podcast network. Thanks for tuning in, and come back next week for our guide to being a Suns fan. Go Suns.